Welcome, everyone, to City Hall on a beautiful afternoon here in Harrisburg. This is very exciting because this is now the second press conference this week in which we've been able to launch something that's been in the works for a long time. As many of you know, we launched our 311 system earlier this week, and it's been a great success, and it's making communication easier with city government. And now we are going to officially kick off our comprehensive planning process here for the city of Harrisburg. Both much anticipated, very important, and key to connecting the community with city government and with planning really for generations to come. So I am joined here by quite the distinguished group of individuals, but I want to point out from the city's perspective, we have Jackie Parker, who is right there, and who is our Executive Director of Community and Economic Development. And we also have our Planning Director, Mr. Jeffrey Knight, who is right there, and we'll be speaking to you in just a minute. And Jeffrey and I have both worn urban planning ties in honor of this occasion. So, which city is yours, Jeffrey?
New York.
New York. He has New York, I have Philadelphia. Our goal is to have a Harrisburg tie soon. So we are also joined by members of our steering committee, which has been meeting here in weeks in anticipation of this kickoff press conference. And we have representatives of the consulting firms that are going to be involved in the planning process. And you're going to get to meet everybody in just a minute. The comprehensive plan is important because it will guide development of our city for the next 2 decades. It is something which has desperately been needed to be done for a long time. It is something that will probably result in a rework of our zoning code, and it will basically guide all of our conversations when it comes to land development, acquisition, blight eradication, you name it. As we move forward, the comprehensive plan will be our guiding document. It is a requirement of the Harrisburg Strong Plan. It's part of the city's overall recovery. And I think key to this is the plan will only be as strong as the community involvement that undergirds it. So really the plan is the vision of the residents and the business owners and the stakeholders and everyone who has a stake in Harrisburg and its future development. It will be our plan. And it's not going to be done tomorrow. It's going to take the next 10 months or so to develop, but we are officially kicking it off now after having had some preliminary steering committee meetings up to this point. Now, the comprehensive plan will eventually be passed by City Council, and we hope this to happen in April of next year, so about a year from now. And this is going to be a transparent process, which is part of why we wanted to bring all these shining, smiling faces before you today. And it will be regularly communicated through 2 websites. First, the city's own website, and I'm going to show you that at the end of the press conference, where you'll be able to link right off the homepage and get comprehensive plan updates. But there also will be a special comprehensive planning website that you can link to from harrisburgpa.gov. But that's going to be developed here as part of the conversation and a part of this process here by our consultants. There's a lot to talk about today. It's all very exciting. Let's start by bringing on our planning director, Mr. Jeffrey Knight, who's been a great asset to the city, wonderfully hardworking, and is really behind the scenes put all of this together. Jeffrey's going to talk a little bit about the purpose and the background and the steering committee. And after Jeffrey's done, we'll come back and we'll introduce our consultants. So Jeffrey, the podium is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor indicated, this is a really exciting time for the city. The comprehensive plan is a vision, a guiding document for growth and development in the city and how we shape policy. Currently, our current comprehensive plan is 41 years old, so we're in arrears by about 20 years with updating and adopting a new one. And this will really help, I think, change the way we grow here in the city, and this will all be based on the input we get from the community businesses, property owners, and residents. So it's a really exciting time for the community to have an input, much more so than maybe in the past, in the future development of the growth of the city. As I noted, the comprehensive plan currently dates to 1974. There have been some small area topical sector plans that have been developed in the preceding 4 decades. However, we haven't really had a comprehensive, long-range, long-term planning effort since Forum 2020 or Forum 2000 in 1995-96, which never really got completed and therefore never really became a basis for growth going forward. So this presents a really interesting and wonderful opportunity for the city to really take charge of its development. In order to develop the RFP and the RFQ and eventually select the consultant team that you see here before you, we first put together a comprehensive plan steering committee made up of 23 individuals, some of whom are here today. And they were chosen because they represent certain topics, either transportation, infrastructure, environmental, or certain geographic areas here within the city, so that we got a broad base of input from the very outset of the process. I'd like to introduce the members of the steering committee who are here today. First we have Shannon Williams with Capital Region Water. If you can raise your hand just so that everyone sees you. Next we have Carl Singleton, who's here with he's the education representative. We have Jackie Marshall, who's here with the Southside neighborhood. We have Sean Donovan here with CREDIC, so he's our kind of regional business and commercial development. We have Councilwoman Susan Brown Wilson, who's here representing the City Council. We have Dave Bottero, who's here representing public safety, which is a vital component of the plan. And finally we have, last but not least, Brian Davis, who is here with HRA as a majority kind of property owner in the city. Their involvement in this will be vital in seeing some of the new development that we hope will become a part of this plan. After the comprehensive plan is developed, as the mayor has stated, hopefully within a few years after that, we'll have a new zoning code, which will be the legal document that implements the vision developed by the residents, businesses, and property owners of the city. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to the mayor.
All right, Jeffrey. And we should note that the steering committee was even much larger than just the few that are here and has done a lot of work. But the most important task up to this point was developing the RFP and conducting the interviews and getting us to the point where we could hire the consultants, which I now get to address. I want to say one more thing, though. I forgot to mention, this was also the week that we launched our land bank here in Harrisburg. We had an organizational meeting just yesterday, and I can tell you the conversation centered on the comprehensive plan. They're ready to go, but in terms of where we're going to do remediation and where we're going to do acquisition, that really will come and will follow our comprehensive plan, and those two will work side by side. So to introduce you to the team, and it's quite a team, and I can say that I sat in on the interviews personally. I was very impressed by the team that was assembled here. I want to introduce a face that is familiar to many of you, and that is Brett Peters. He is the principal of the Office of Planning and Architecture right here in Harrisburg. It is the lead consulting company, but really what Brett has done is assemble an incredibly talented and gifted team. And to talk about his teammates, I will hand it over to Brett Peters. Brett.
Thank you very much, Mayor Papafos. It's a great honor to be selected to prepare the comprehensive plan for Harrisburg after 41 years. So in many ways, it's a real new beginning for the city, as is this administration and many of the other events we've seen moving forward. When we were asked to put the comprehensive plan team together, it seemed to me that there were many organizations in Harrisburg who had deep roots locally, and they could be paired with national and international caliber consultants who could bring us some broad perspective to our environment and who could inform us some of the best practices that are happening all over the world. I think as I introduce the team members, you'll see how this structure worked very, very quickly. At the far end, we have Susan Ambrosini of Arup Global Engineering Consultants, and Vinny Rashika, who is assisting her on this. Their role is transportation consulting in the plan, and they have been paired with Bart Kurowski of Kurowski & Wilson, which is a Harrisburg-based civil engineering and land design firm. So those two will work very, very closely to deal with issues of land and transportation. Behind that is Stacy Spann with AB3 Development Advisory. AB3 is a firm that specializes in housing policy and financing of housing and nonprofit work for municipalities. Besides Stacy is Neil Takamoto. Neil is the head of a firm called Cooltown Studios. They will be working with us on our website for public participation. He's based out of Washington, D.C., and he's paired with Tara Leo Aki, who's with Good Land Collaborative, also working with Tasha Lehman-Dalen, who could not be with us today because she had baby boy about 8 hours ago. So she's excused. But you'll be seeing Tasha as well working with the team. But Good Land Collaborative has been working in Harrisburg neighborhoods for years, doing public participation, public engagement activities. Most recently, they had some young people from the neighborhoods here in Harrisburg in this very lobby doing poetry that was written based on environmental observations, so some very interesting work. That is our consultant team, and we're very, very pleased to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, fantastic. And I know you're going to have questions for the team. I want to say that basically the team is in town. They're going to be here for the next bit of time gathering information. There is a steering committee meeting tonight. It is at the Hack Midtown campus. It is open to everyone. What time does that start, Jeffrey? 6 o'clock. Starts at 6 o'clock this evening. And we are heading towards a June launch for our initial public forums and public engagement sessions. So there is going to be a June 9th launch, which will basically set the schedule and set the table for how this is going to work. And there are going to be a series of public meetings and public forums scheduled for the 3rd and 4th weeks of June. So that will really officially kick off the engagement portion. You can look for their website as well to be up here over the course of the month of May and ahead of the June 9th launch. And so the question is, how do you find out about this? Well, I wanted to demonstrate how easy it was to go to our website. And Ryan's hiding in the back and I'm stepping over here. But if you come to our website, and can you just scroll up a little bit, you will see that among other things, it is really easy to find the comprehensive plan and to find updates. If you scroll down just a little bit, I want to show you, because not everybody was here for our 311 launch, but we also have, back the other way, Ryan, we have our new information database where you can literally find over 300 questions and answers right now to some of the most commonly asked questions for the city of Harrisburg, which is really, really great. And you should try that out. And that database is going to continue to grow over time. If you go back to the main page, you'll see that right on the main page, below the news ticker and the knowledge database, you're going to have this link to the comprehensive plan. If you want to learn more, all you got to do is click Learn More, and that's going to take you to the city's comprehensive planning page, and that will lay out everything that you need to know, and that will then link to the new website, which will be developed by the consultant team. So pretty neat. And did you also know, as you can see here, that you can now chat with the city of Harrisburg, live chat, 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. weekdays. Jamie is ready to respond to you, and others are. That's also part of our new 311 system. Here it comes. So Ryan, I also wanted to show off one more thing, which is I want to show you how to go to our, here, hold that for 1 second, how to find our new revised planning department page, because this is something that Jeffrey and Jim Spatz, who's with him, have been working on and is also relevant and really helpful to what we're doing. If you go to the city government website, you simply click on branches, and you click on the Planning Bureau, you will come to a really exciting new design for the Planning Bureau website and a new interactive GIS map, which you can get to by clicking here. And I thought, since we had the media here, I wanted to also draw your attention to how much easier it is to sort of find planning information right now with the city of Harrisburg. And I wanted Jeffrey, you to come up, or Jim, or whoever would like to do this, and just show some of the exciting map features that we now have on the website.
Well, in the past, we've had static PDF maps, which were not very useful. You had to zoom in, it would take a long time to download or to upload, and so it was of limited use. The new one is very similar to the county's tax parcel viewer map, in that you can zoom in and out at different scales, and when you zoom in, you get to the actual parcel data, and if you click on a parcel data, it will let you know what your zoning is. And right now we have zoning and whether you're in a historic district or not. And you can also click on the zoning code link, which will take you directly to the zoning code or the historic district design guide to figure out what you're permitted to do within the historic districts or what you're recommended to do by our architectural review board. So this is a kind of a one-stop shop for all your planning, zoning, whatever issues that you might have had trouble finding in the past. We're going to be working on updating this to include floodplain information, our flood certification stuff, floodplain applications, so that from now on this will be the place to go if you have any information about or you want any information about your property, to know what you're permitted to do there and what you're zoned. So.
Great, thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to show that off. And over time, that map is going to be able to grow and reflect other types of exciting things: trees, street lights, traffic signals, you name it. And it's all part about making city government more accessible to the public, and hopefully making the public excited and eager to be engaged with city government and indeed with the planning process. So. As you can tell, I am excited. Look for updates then on our city website. Be prepared for the public meetings to really kick off in force in June. Come out tonight to Hack Midtown if you want to be a part of some of the initial conversations with the consultants. And with that, we are happy to take questions either for me, for city employees, or the consultant team. Yes?
Why, and this could be for either you or
Sure.
Jeff, why did this take so long to create a new comprehensive plan? It's been 41 years. Why now, and why did it take so long?
Well, I can't speak to the past before I took office, and clearly this is something that should have been updated. We had a zoning code that had a similar issue. I would say that the true answer to that is that the financial crisis that enveloped Harrisburg over the last several years really took all the focus off things like this. Basic good governance, the comprehensive planning strategy. Why did we not launch this last year as opposed to this year? Well, that's partly because we wanted to make sure that we established a really positive steering committee, a RFP that was going to evaluate truly the credentials nationally of firms from all over the country. We wanted to get the right consultant team in place. And so the contracts have been signed, the team has been selected, and now we are ready to go. And that took months, and it took a lot of time by our law bureau, by our planning staff, by our economic development executive director, but we've got a really, and all the volunteers have put in a lot of time and energy. So we are ready to go and launch now.
When did the planning start taking place with the steering committee?
Last year, pretty much all through last year, okay. And it got us to the point, they basically drafted the RFP, they selected based on the RFP, they worked with our law bureau, and they have networks in place and ready to go. Each of the steering committee members, as Jeffrey was alluded to, sort of represents a segment of stakeholders or a geographic area of the community, so that when we're ready to start hosting our public meetings and our engagement, they're going to be partly in charge of getting the public out and excited and participating.
You've mentioned the new
Yes.
zoning code a couple of times. Can you explain why that's such an important part of this project?
That's right. So normally a zoning code would follow a comprehensive plan, and that's certainly what we have the intention of doing here. In Harrisburg, we had a situation where we felt we needed to pass a transitional zoning code because it was so outdated and so really non-functional and not helpful for development and growth in the city, that we wanted to pass something, then go through the comprehensive planning process, and then go back and reevaluate the code again. So we have sort of a bridge zoning code, which we passed last year, which was actually developed in the late 90s that we sort of brought on board. So out of this comprehensive planning process will either come an entirely new zoning code or a series of amendments to the zoning code. But the change will be less great since we have had a bridge zoning than it would have been had we not done what we did last year.
Mayor, with
Yes.
this plan in place in the next few years or perhaps
next, 'next decade, what do you envision Harrisburg, the new Harrisburg, to look like?
Harrisburg to look like?
Harrisburg to look like?
Well,
Well, that is an excellent question for the public. No, but it is. It's not about what one individual thinks or what the mayor thinks. I have lots of opinions and I'm going to participate. But the key to a successful plan is asking the community, neighborhood by neighborhood, what it wants to see. What are its priorities? Literally block by block as we map the whole city. And that's why the process is not a short one. That's why it's going to take 10 months. That's why it's about community engagement, and that's really the answer to your question. So we will find out together in a process of discovery over the next year, and then that will be the guiding document that will inform all decisions going forward.
But you're hoping for, I'm assuming, more jobs, housing, more people coming to live in the city. I mean, what are the things that we
Sure.
see?
Yes, absolutely. But that's what this document will speak towards. What types of development and where and how the infrastructure and transportation will all inform and support that. That's going to be the vision for Harrisburg. We have not collectively sat down and said, this is the vision for Harrisburg in far too long as a community, and I'm hoping that this really brings us together, helps us all share a common focus, and then my job will be to implement that vision through good, effective policy.
How much is the plan?
Oh, that's okay. How much is the plan? I don't have the exact numerical details. Huh? $200,000, which is what we appropriated through the budget process last year.
Mayor, are there times where without a comprehensive plan, you've driven through the city and said, to walk through the city and said, man, if we had a comprehensive plan, this would have been.
All the time. And I have had to, acting without a plan, we can't like not have progress. We can't not continue to move. We can't not have development. But I can tell you, our land bank wants to see the plan. Our zoning hearing board wants to see the plan. Our planning commission wants to see it. Everybody wants the plan because right now things are sort of done on an ad hoc basis, and we try and be consistent and comprehensive in doing it. But that's the whole purpose for having a plan.
And you talked a lot about the community engagement part. How big is that? Because a lot of times you might be engaging with people who have never interacted with government before or have had negative reactions with government before. How do you convince them that they're actually going to get heard?
That's right. And we do not want a plan that is just going to sit on a shelf, and we want a plan that has real buy-in. If we have a plan that only represents a segment of the community and is contested right out of the gate, it's not going to get us very far. Brett, would you be willing to talk on the community engagement side of things specifically? Because one of the reasons that we selected you was we thought you had a really good team and strategy for that.
I'd be very, very happy to, because this is one of the innovative parts of this, and this really responds to both the questions that you two just asked. Neil Takamoto, who's back here, has been working for years on web-based interaction with large communities and large community groups. So what we are doing in this plan is we're having a combination of both traditional neighborhood meetings that we'll be having in two different groups. The first group will be in mid-June, and we'll have a series of meetings around the city which we'll meet with groups and discuss their needs and interests, and that will be more of a information gathering series of meetings. The middle phase of the comprehensive plan is then concept alternatives that we create within the team based on what we've heard and based on what we've read. Both the research documents that we've created and also what the citizens have said. The second set of meetings will then be bringing those back to the community and asking the community's opinions on which of the alternatives they prefer. But what's really interesting about this is not so much the individual community meetings, but the fact that we are going to have an open website that will be available at all times, and any resident of the city can go onto the website anytime they want and view all the documents that have been prepared for the comprehensive plan, but more importantly can blog with the comprehensive planning team. They can post their own ideas about what they think would benefit the city, and they can do this constantly and in real time throughout the first approximately 2/3 to 3/4 of the planning process. After that, obviously, we have to close it down and write the final document. But we will have real-time interaction with Tara, with Neil, with some of the planning interns that are there in the back, with myself, and we will be able to respond to people real time. This really democratizes the planning process in a way that was never able to happen before, and we're very, very excited.
Mr. Peters, a question for you. What do you foresee as the biggest challenge that your firm has moving forward in the next 10 months with getting this plan in place?
The largest challenge? I think we've got an extremely good consultant team, and I know we have a very supportive city, so I'm just really excited to move through the process. I don't really see it as challenging other than just maintaining, processing all the data that's going to be coming our way. That's probably the largest issue.
With all of the involvement that you'd like to see from people in the community and from businesses, sometimes people have competing interests or what they want conflicts. So how will you weigh things out when those interests do compete or conflict?
That will be part of a dialogue that will be happening real time on the blog. Obviously, when we do have direct conflicts, what we probably have to do as a consulting team is bring that to our client, bring that to the city for final resolution on those issues. They are the ultimate policy body. We are the people that are doing the work of the planning process, but we're always referring back to them and back to the steering committee to give us guidance on final decisions.
And then I'm sure, as you've experienced, sometimes when implementing change, not everyone's going to be happy with it. So how will you measure how successful this plan is?
Obviously, public response is very, very important. Probably we'll measure it in terms of the speed of implementation. If the plan is written properly, it will be a very clear and rational sequence of events in the city to help streamline land use, streamline development, strengthen neighborhoods, a number of things. But that's really what the comprehensive plan does, is it prioritizes a series of events once we figure out the series of events. And that's really what the first set of public engagement is meant to do, see what's meaningful to the residents.
So what other cities have you done a comprehensive plan for, and what has been the impact?
I have never done a comprehensive plan for a whole city, but I've done plans for parts of larger cities that are larger than Harrisburg. In the early 2000s, I did about 5 years of work in Panama City, around the Old Town, the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we were dealing with all the historic neighborhoods that fed into the Old Town, and frankly, because of the condition of those neighborhoods, there was an impediment for the city to sort of grow back and engage the Old Town. So we worked with UNESCO and with the city and national governments to try to create what we call a Barrio Popular, which was a neighborhood that all people could be comfortable in. And that work sort of died down under the previous presidential administration there, and we've just been asked to come back and implement it. And there have been substantial changes to those neighborhoods, but what has happened there is people have become aware of the value of many of the populations and buildings that currently exist, and they're preserving those populations and buildings while development is occurring around them.
So this is going to seem like maybe a heretical question here, but on the democratization thing, I mean, sort of a devil's advocate question, but why is that a good thing? I mean, you guys are design professionals. Most people who live here aren't. If somebody said, this is a community design skyscraper, I probably wouldn't go up it. So you know, how do you separate good ideas from popular ideas?
That's a really good question. The folks that we have over here who are all planning professionals, they've been very, very well educated and have practiced it for a great deal of time in a lot of different environments preparing plans. So they are in fact experts, and they are bringing what we hope are best practices. But people who live in places see them different than people coming in from far away for a short period of time. So interviewing folks is one of the best ways to understand the actual fabric of an environment and understand what's valued in that fabric. Sometimes you don't see that when you're coming in from the outside, and you need to hear it. A little bit more sophisticated response to that is a lot of what we will do up front in terms of our analysis. When we present that to the public, they will see their neighborhoods in different ways, and they've never seen them, and they will start sometimes value things that they never realized were valuable. So it's an iterative process, and it goes back and forth. That's why it's important, because combined, the solutions can be really, really sophisticated and powerful.
And then just to make the process a little less abstract, I mean, this is for you and maybe for the mayor as well, but to get maybe an example, what's something right now that is a deficiency in the current plan, where we've got some development that could happen, or we've got a neighborhood that's not gelling right because of the plan that exists now?
Well, some of the things that for instance, it's well known that I support a redo of our 2nd Street and our transportation for that corridor of the city. That's something that we need to have a lot of different meetings about, and it needs to be part of an overall approach to our transportation needs in the city. That is something which will be very much guided by this plan. But if you look at a deficiency, yes, I would say a 3-lane highway running through a residential neighborhood, sort of splitting the city from the river, and not sort of focused on building community. That is a deficiency. Clearly, as I mentioned with the land bank, we are almost overwhelmed with the question of blight and where to deploy the limited resources that we have. And we need guidance, and the community needs to be involved in guidance in terms of setting our priorities, and also having a sense of guiding developers, of which there are many that would like to come and invest in the city, to certain opportunities. Right now, basically, we suffer from not having that sort of collective, comprehensive vision with the public buy-in associated with it.
Is this kind of, I mean, is there also like a grant-related reason? Is it like audits, where if you don't have this paper in place, you can't get access to certain?
As I said, it is a true deficiency. It will certainly benefit the city from a grant writing perspective. I think that's true. And it's sort of, it's not that it's a requirement for the strong plan, it is that it's a requirement of the city's recovery. We have to have this. We neglected this for too long. So without question, the city needs to have it. Ideally, it'll make all of our lives easier, and it will improve relations, because there will be this sort of buy-in sort of at the core of it. And that's going to be helpful for me from a governing standpoint and city council. We're going to be able to follow that document with regard to policy, rather than trying to make an argument for each and everything that we do without having that sort of central guiding document to inform us.
And then a kind of process question here, but in the prior administration, the thing that really tied this up, it seemed like, was there was a question of approving that contract. So has this contract been awarded already?
Contract has been awarded.
Okay, and the last time the big question was about city council being able to vote on that contract. So I don't remember a city council vote on this.
Help me through with the legislative process. What was the status of the? I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think within the resolution passed by City Council to hand the process off to the Planning Commission, they gave them the responsibility and the authority to enact the comprehensive plan how they saw fit. They had to hire consultants, and so our law bureau has seen that as the City Council has given the Planning Commission, and by way of the Planning Commission, the city, the authority to not only select, but to go through the contracting process too.
When was that resolution passed on?
The City Council resolution? That was back in, I think, maybe July of last year. It was mid-2014, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the controversy, if you recall, some of which came not just from City Council, but also from the Planning Commission, saying, wait a minute, you're doing the comprehensive plan, we're supposed to be essentially launching that. So we took the view of getting the authority from City Council to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission then met publicly, had its own meetings, and basically authorized the Planning Bureau and the Steering Committee to move forward with the process. They reviewed and voted on the RFP, and here we are. And the Law Department has reviewed the contract. So we feel very good in how the selection process was made.
Okay, I'm not an attorney, but I thought that contracts had to be ordinances, right? Isn't it an ordinance that has to be voted on for spending of money?
Contracts have to, they would need to be authorized, but it was authorized by City Council as a part of what they passed.
Okay.
Contracts have to be legal and carefully vetted and signed off on by the administration, but that's sort of a separate process.
And then the steering committee, who picked the steering committee? Was that mayoral?
The
selection?
steering committee, I was involved in the selection of the steering committee, as was the planning commission or planning director, and it was one of the things that we worked on early on last year, and we had city council participation in that selection process too. And if you want to meet even more of the steering committee, come tonight to Hackman Town and or speak to them afterwards. Any other questions?
Where did the money come from to pay the $200,000?
Oh, I don't remember all of where the money came from. Jackie, back to me. No, you can do it. Or you can tell me. I'll do it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay, so it was a combination of things. It was a portion of the money came from DCED as a part of the strong plan, from the state. A portion of the money came from the host fee, which was also voted on to cover the sort of environmental aspects of the plan, and then the rest of it just came from the city's general fund. All of that totaling $200,000. Okay?
Can I ask a question on a different topic?
Sure.
I was just wanting to follow up with you on the state of any civil claims being pursued following this strong plan, what the communication has been with the city on those claims.
I can't really comment on that other than to say that we are aware of it, and I did read your article with interest, Paul, on the Burke blog. But we have been in good communication with the coordinator's team, and we are aware of the actions that they're taking.
Are you in communication with the attorney who's following those papers?
We're in communication, but in terms of any comment on them, I will hand that off to the coordinator in his office. They're the ones handling the filings.
Has the city been named in any of the suits, or have you been subpoenaed in any of these actions?
Not with regard to those, no. But it has been a constant topic of conversation. Okay, thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it.